So John Wick Chapter 3, what John Wick always does in terms of the films, stylized choreography, gunfighting, hand-to-hand combat, knife throwing, they've got it all when it comes to the John Wick series.
And it's kind of funny in this movie too, there are like 3 different times too where it's like different choreography that's happening, so it's not really the same thing, so you're kind of getting a fresh take on a new action scene in the movie, which is cool. So you kind of get a little bit more of a range of what he can do in this movie as well, especially when it comes to either like just things around or knives or guns.
Riding bikes, riding horses, riding cars, it doesn't matter. John Wick can do it all. Now, one thing that is definitely standout-ish when it comes to this movie is the level of intensity that they put into those choreographed fight scenes. What they've added to this one did kick it up a notch. I've never really seen proper gun and dog fighting when it comes to utilizing dogs as weapons and protection. And I tell you what, they do it flawlessly when it comes to this movie. I was constantly going, oh my god, every time it happened, because you wouldn't expect it, and the next thing you know, these dogs would come out of nowhere when it came down to scenes with Halle Berry and John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves. And Halle Berry herself was fantastic in this movie. The hand-to-hand combat and gunfighting that she was capable of pulling off. I know they released like a video very similar to the one that Keanu Reeves did on his own, where she's doing all the proper gunfighting, and it shows, man. She killed it in this movie.
She did, and there are certain things that happened while she was there doing her thing that I was like, okay, this is pretty cool to see her kind of interact, and especially interact with her 2 German Shepherds that she has with her. So that was really cool to see in this movie. That's kind of the point where I was like so into it too, and then to the point where I was like, oh, I don't hear any music. Like, there wasn't really any music. It was kind of just fighting the whole time. And you didn't really notice it until after the fight when there's music, and you're like, okay.
And kicking that off when it comes to the music never stopped until, I would say, almost 1 or 2 of the gunfight scenes. The music would stop during the fight scenes. They would just be, you know, throwing everything they have at each other, and then the music would kick in again. But it felt like the music never, ever stopped when it actually gets rolling at the very beginning of the movie. The intensity that rolls in from John Wick Chapter 2 to 3, it doesn't miss a beat. Like, it is still going. Like, it is, the time is counting down. We are rolling forward. And to me, I was like, oh damn, like, it's like a roller coaster ride the entire first half of the movie. And then it does slow down when it comes to plotting and planning and what's the next step. But the whole first act of the movie felt like a perfect continuation from Chapter 2.
Yeah, I do want to say that there are certain things towards the end that too, I was like, okay, maybe they're dragging it out a little too long, and I was just kind of sitting there and like, what's gonna happen? Like, it never felt like it was just like them hitting each other like this, but it never felt like it was gonna end. And so I kind of was just sitting there. So maybe that during that time they could have did something unique to it, but at the same time, I guess I kind of to have it flow.
It does feel like they are dragging the story out as long as they can, and we're only getting certain portions of the story itself in each movie, but there's a much longer arc coming into play when it comes to John Wick.
Right.
So one thing though that I did really enjoy, being that we did get to see different stylized gunfights, the Continental. We get to see a lot more of the Continental in this movie, which I loved. It's definitely something that's been missing, but the Continental itself was basically a character in this movie.
That's true, because you kind of see different rooms of the Continental and stuff, so it was kind of cool to see how it worked with the inners and outs of the Continental.
Right. And then getting more into,
besides just being a hotel,
what is happening with the hierarchy of the actual high table, the syndicate, what is behind all these assassins. I mean, we get only a little bit of that, and that's what I'm saying, is they kind of drag the story out in terms of, like, we want to get you as much as we can, but you're gonna have to come back and watch the next one.
Basically.
But when it comes to it, Keanu Reeves doesn't say a whole lot of words. He shows it through the action.
That's true. Yeah, there is not a lot of stuff that he says in this movie. It's kind of more so that he's a man determined to get where he needs to go.
The use of glass in this movie as well is something that I admired quite greatly. Breakable glass, shattered glass, glass everywhere.
To be honest, I really didn't care about that.
I did. Like when because I'm thinking about stunts. Like I'm watching all the stunts and the practical effects that they put into the stunt work when it came to all the people that are battling it out in this film. And for me, it's like when they use glass, I'm like, oh dang! Like I'm appreciating the level of effect that they put into their surroundings when it comes to these fight scenes, as well as the use of glass. So they've never really done that in John Wick, but this one I feel like it was heavy-handed, but in a good way. So
there were a lot of things though too that I kind of wish that they did more of, like unique ways that he could kill people. Like there was just a lot of just using guns and then using just like knife fight stuff, but I kind of wanted to see more of him using unique ways like we've seen in the past of killing people. So hopefully maybe we can get that more if they come out with another movie,
because they do that in this movie, but very, very early on in the movie, and they don't really get back to something like that. And then it's kind of cool also to see a little bit more of the way that they work as far as communication between the high table and the lower assassins and stuff, with that whole scene where you have the girls doing the operators, the administrators kind of working together to get this done. Some cool cameos in this one too that hadn't been in John Wick before, that we were kind of happy to see certain people in this movie. But either way, enjoyed John Wick. Again, the music was great, the action was great, the colors and the lighting was perfect. So for John Wick, because it is a little drawn out and draggy at some points in terms of wanting to know more of the story and let's get to completion, because that was dragged out, I would say I would end up giving it a 4.5. Also, the fact that people get killed in the middle of crowds and nobody seems to respond or care that it's happening, which
and then, like,
threw me off completely. Like in middle of tons of people and like train stations and so there's people walking around everywhere and people are just getting killed and throats cut and stabbed, and it's like not one person even responds to it. So for all that and my criticisms, I'd say I'd give it like a 4.5 out of 5, 4.25 out of 5. Because everything else was beautiful. Yeah, because everything was just more so like going at guns, and there wasn't really a whole lot of story-wise, except for, you know, that he is excommunicado and he needs to figure out a way how to like undo this or something like that. But other than that, I feel like there should have been more story, because I want to know more, which is always good. You want to know more. Yeah, that's good. But I would give it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. So I do love the fact that the title and why it's called Parabellum is in this movie, so I enjoyed that. There's nothing after the credits and nothing really in the mid-credits either, just kind of some background stylized shots behind the credits, but other than that you don't really have to stay other than to listen to the music. So thank you guys for watching our non-spoiler review for John Wick Chapter 3. If you saw it, what did you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. If you haven't, I'd recommend checking it out if you have seen the other two. So other than that, you can like and subscribe. And do the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Stardust. All the social networking gin joints, you know where they are. Kicking the party, fuel the party, keep the party going on our Patreon. Get us where we need to go. We'll be at Phoenix Fan Fusion in a week, May 23rd through the 26th. Be on the lookout for us if you are there. Thank you guys so much, and as always, now it's time to say goodbye. This party is over. Bye. Bye.